Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this special project webinar from Leo Crowdfunding and brought to you tonight jointly by Raglan Country Estates, and we'll be speaking to them just in a moment. So thank everyone for joining. The idea tonight is this should last round about 35-40 minutes, and it's what we call a project webinar. What we're doing is literally going through details of a potential investment opportunity. So again, thank you for joining. If you do have a pen and paper, I encourage you to grab that. Feel free to take a snap of any of the screens. We can send you the presentation if you so wish. This will also be recorded, so you can ask for a copy of the recording. We don't put it out publicly on our YouTube channel, but we can send you a link because this is a private raise in the sense that it's for people connected to Leo Crowdfunding. And for those on the webinar, if you have any questions, please do not use the chat box. If you put any questions you have into the Q&A box, that would be the best way. Then we can deal with the question that way and get your questions answered. So if we get through the presentation, hopefully we'll have some time at the end where we can actually deal with some Q&A as well. So feel free to ask any question that you feel is relevant. If for some reason we can't deal with it in the time allowed, then we can certainly contact you separately afterwards and do our best to answer any question that you have. So tonight, absolutely delighted to be joined co-host wise. I'll let them introduce themselves first and then I'll go next. So Deri, welcome tonight, and you want to just explain a bit about your background and who you are?
Great to be here again, David. Yeah, well, you're going to hear about the project specifically tonight. My background has been in property and strategy for the best part of 25 years. So I typically guide to sit on boards. I have a few plays where I step in myself as CEO, which is rare, but I've guided over 300 boards now myself, created strategy on a page's methodology, and I still have equity stakes in a number of companies in the business spectrum. So I'm all about business, but I love property as part of a big strategy along the way, and I've guided quite a number of property companies along the way. So you'll see this deal actually brings together everything around property, planning, gain, etc., but also business, because this is a mix of the both.
Brilliant, fantastic. So for those that don't know me, David Johnstone, I'm the CEO of Leo Crowdfunding. We are a property crowdfunding platform. Now we are regulated, so we have an FCA principal called Sharon, and you'll find my name as an approved person on the FCA register. I'll mention that a bit just in a second, but my own personal background, advertising and marketing initially. I was involved in playing semi-professional football in Northern Ireland for 10 years, Army Reserve officer for nearly 27 years, so I spent some time out in Iraq. But the last 20 years has been very much full-time in property, and that journey has culminated in setting up a property crowdfunding platform. Now, this is our homepage. If you haven't already, I encourage you to go have a look. There's various videos there, a bit about what we do. And you can also then register on the platform and get information. Now, property crowdfunding is really simply bringing together fundraisers, those who are looking for funds for their project deal, and bringing them together with investors. So we literally effectively bring them together on a compliant platform and sort of facilitate a transaction happening. So it means that the flow of funds, the information supplied, is compliant in terms of financial promotions, and of course the flow of funds is all done through a third-party payment provider. So it just gives comfort at a different level. That's one of the reasons why I did this. I wanted to have that sort of compliant umbrella as I did business in the marketplace. Now you'll see along the bottom there, just to highlight, Leo Crowdfunding, and there's our FRM number. We're an appointed representative of Sharon Limited, which is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So the webinar tonight is, if you like, under that regulatory umbrella. There are certain things we can and can't say, so it's important that you know that, so that everything you'll see tonight has been approved as a financial promotion, and that is important. So what we're here to talk about tonight on this project webinar is a project that I'm actually very, very excited by. It's one of these projects where when you see it, it just, you're glad you're involved in it. And this is really, really exciting of where this project's going. And effectively what happened is Deri and his company, RAGLAN Country Estate, they have this project in Wales. It's a mixed tourism and leisure project. And what they did was they launched it privately, or we would call behind the curtain, on our platform. What that meant was that the general public couldn't see it. Even our own registered investors couldn't see it. This was purely exclusive to, it was actually a private investment club, a group of dentists, and they were allowed just a limited time, if you like, to have exclusivity. That exclusivity has now finished. You can see there that the project has raised 352,000 already. The minimum raise was 100,000, so the project is successful, and we've actually already downloaded or drawn down some funds for Deri and the team, and they're getting on with the business. So this is a successful project. We don't need anyone's funds on the project tonight to sort of ensure this is successful. It already is successful, but there is still some availability for those who may want to be along the journey tonight. So without any further ado, let me hand over to Deri, initially just to explain what is the project and why you're so excited about it.
Yeah, thanks, David. You've heard some other people who've been, so Harry, who's part of that exclusivity period, he's been to the site. And he says in his own words, this does not do it justice, which is pretty impressive, actually, because I think this is a pretty good photo, right? So everything you see there is what we have. And it's 127 acres. And the size is, it'll take you a good hour to walk that. That's the size of the place. And it's the majesty of it is just incredible. You'll see the Black Mountains in front of you there, this is what doesn't do justice. It's on a panorama on a hill. So you've got unlimited views to the full Brecon Beacons, which is what part of the magic of the whole site. So we've got this site. We've taken the opportunity, which was an 18-hole championship golf course, which went bust, essentially. And that's where the opportunity lay. We've taken it, we've pivoted it into a 9-hole. We've kept 9-hole golf because, to be frank, we couldn't develop 127 acres if we tried in the next 5 years. So we've kept that, maintained that for the locals, because there's actually a very strong local base to that already. We are taking 50 acres and converting it into high-end leisure tourism, which is the kind of staycation market, which you can start to see post-COVID. We're playing. There's a beautiful accident there. You've got to claim it when it comes, right? So we've played perfectly into the market for that, and taking a 20-acre site for leisure. Now, this doesn't include then the buildings themselves, which we come on to later, which is a 10,000 square foot building development, which we're already halfway through the refurb on that. And we're creating not just a staycation leisure tourism site, but a world-class retreat center. So for me, it's my passion. I want to have a place where corporates can reconnect, families can reconnect at a whole different level, but at a really high end. So it's connecting to nature, but still having the luxury involved with that. And that's the essence of the opportunity.
Brilliant. Okay, that's a really good overview, and to give people sort of the bird's eye view, if you like. So let's now deep dive into some of what I think are the key elements. We're going to look at the history, the location. The core team is obviously vital in any project. The vision, and one thing I've been really impressed with Deri about is his ability to articulate his vision for this site and project. Again, a bit more about the project team, and then of course we'll talk about the actual investment opportunity and how that actually works. So in terms of the history then, Deri, you've covered a little bit there, but maybe just explain to me the buildings here and really what you found and what you've done with it so far.
Yeah, so we stepped in. It was an opportunity that rose, which like the best deals, they come along by surprises. I wasn't looking for this one, right? But I saw something beautiful. I saw in the 127 acres, just this incredible opportunity to create a showcase site in Wales. Since then, we've been working with the Welsh government and the local tourism, the councils. So we are really bringing a whole new world-class showcase to Wales. That's my intent. As a Welshman, it's great to be back over the border doing this properly, right? Now, you've seen the land, you've seen the kind of the overview of the size of the land, and you'll see some of the units in a little while. You see, just when I say high-end leisure tourism, you'll see what that means in a little while. I mean, we are innovating in this space in quite a grand way. But also part of this package came with 10,000 square foot of buildings. You see it's the double helix courtyard there. And that is as part of the deal. Those really came as free because we just bought it on pre-agricultural level. This is why the deal was underpinned before we even began. We've already developed half of that courtyard. Anyone that's aware of Soho Farmhouse, I'm a member of Soho. I love the Soho vibe. We're basically modeling everything off the kind of Soho experience because it's just so done so well. So that's already refurbed. We're open. The cafe, now we've played to COVID, so we've opened in an al fresco way. We have all full takeaway, coffee, high-end stuff, just nice and elegant for an al fresco takeaway experience whilst we're going through this period. We've opened the golf course, which is COVID friendly, obviously, because that's what people want. And we've got a massive outdoor acreage for people to roam in. So we've literally played into the post-COVID world quite beautifully. We've held some of the stuff back, which is a little bit more tied from COVID for the time being, but we'll launch those in January and we're ready next year with that. So, the history as a golf course, we've turned that, but we're actually leveraging off a lot of places. There's 500 members already in this club, and that was just a lot of old boys in a private members club. All right, we're actually opening it up to the whole community, accessible to all, and bringing families back. So I'm excited by the local opportunity, and you can see there where the location is. It's right smack bang in the middle of two beautiful greenbelt areas. So the local opportunity is great, but that you build the local and the leisure tourism together, that's what makes this a very exciting proposition.
Mm-hmm. And I know from some other conversations we have had, this kind of area of Wales, over towards the sort of the border, Bristol, this is kind of the area that property prices are kind of hottest in Wales. So you're kind of in the right area, as well as in terms of location for tourism, the Black Mountains, Abergavenny, all of that. Location wise, it really is ticks all the boxes.
It does, and again, a bit of luck and magic in that is that you can get with two hours from pretty much anywhere of the main metropolitan areas of the country, 2 hours from London, right? Straight up the M4, up the A449, which you can see there. Raglan is 2 minutes. The site itself is 2 minutes off the dual carriageway. So no matter where you're coming from in the country, you can get there by motorway and dual carriageway all the way until the last 2 minutes. Now that accessibility is quite unique. So it means you can be in the middle of nature, you can be in the middle of the countryside, you're in that connection, but it's still really accessible. And then that's your ground zero, because now you can get around to the, you've got Simmons Yacht, you've got the Wye Valley, you've got Raglan Castle, you've got the Brecon Beacons, all within 50 minutes. So this is kind of the kind of base camp ground zero, really accessible from anyone, anywhere. And that's the beauty of the location. Now, you couldn't get planning permission if you went, because if you saw the green belt, that's all areas of outstanding natural beauty. So you're not going to get planning permission anywhere near those if you tried. So the sweet spot in the middle was, I wish I could have claimed that strategically, but I didn't. This was a bit of luck along the way. And you got to love a little bit of luck. As an Irishman, you got to love a little bit of luck, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You take it when it comes. And certainly they always talk about, property location. And, if you start to analyze this investment opportunity from a location point of view, I mean, there's certainly, a big tick in that location box for the reasons that you've outlined there. So what about your core team? Because obviously you can't do this all yourself. This is a big project. Who have you brought in, and what's the guys around you?
So this is the core, the founders team, but then you'll see actually the execution team and the non-exec, the advisory board essentially, which are Titans as well. But myself, I'm more of the visionary CEO here. I've got the property background, and I'm able to play on certainly the planning games, the refurb games, the build games, the innovation within the units, and also ensure that all the business units are pinned together, because you've got multiple businesses here. This is why it's quite elegantly stacked. So you've got a golf course and the revenues from that, and a food and bev, and a conference center, and a leisure tourism. So you start to layer it, and actually it's the layering which is the beauty, right? Because then once all your overheads are covered off base one, everything else is really hitting the bottom line, which is why this is a highly profitable venture. To prove all that and underpin that, we've got Ronnie Smith, financial director. We work alongside the FD Centre with him. He's the specialist in this because he actually runs split leisure tourism sites. He's got, I can't name some of them, but they're some of the high ones in London. So he's been brilliant to dial the detail in. So all the full financials are fully available. We've got the detail there. And obviously you guys have gone through those with a fine tooth comb, right? And Ian, who's my partner in multiple businesses and in this one, he built and exited companies successfully. He's great at scaling teams. His last team, I think they went up to 2,000 people. So he understands how to scale proper talent, exit, raise capital. Those guys retroed into a PLC as well. So they understand the structural piece. So it's been I'm very proud of the core team, but I'm actually more proud of the team we've built underneath that. We've got an amazing general manager, estate manager, food and bev manager now. The team's building. So we've already hired, and this is the beautiful thing in this current world when everyone's kind of laying people off, we've hired like 9 people in the last 8 weeks.
Excellent, fantastic. So you've already touched a wee bit on the vision, because obviously I think every time we speak to you about this project, whether we're talking finances, whether we're talking, the offer document, it's the vision that keeps sort of coming out every time we talk to you, that excitement and the passion you have. So I think it's good to take a minute and run through and try and share that vision with the attendees of where you see this project going.
So I think if we just get back to the essence of what this is all about, it's about connection. And for me, I think that has never been more important in this current world, is connection. Connecting back to ourselves, connecting back to our families, connecting to our teams. So we're in this virtual world where we're working from home, right? And actually we need to connect back. We've got to bring the teams back. So to me, this was always a core of the vision, was to create a place, a sanctuary, where at its core is high tech. So we've got the high tech conference center at its core, where we can run retreats to still a niche set of people, like 25, 30 CEOs. This is not for volume, but be able to live stream to thousands simultaneously. So this is about a high-end retreat center, high-end connection center for families, for corporates. So you can start to see the on-season, off-season play here, which is what we're building. We're building a high-end tourism site. So when the summer holidays, you can come with your family. But when they're not summer holidays, it's bringing the corporates and the leadership teams and everything else. And we're building that hybrid model for me, which is just the perfect blend, right? And it's bringing people back to nature. So we are rewilding. This is why we've got such support of the Welsh government. So you'll see some of the eco units in a little while. We've brought eco units. So everything we're doing is about driving the agenda, the eco agenda, bringing carbon neutral down, even to go to carbon negative with some of the stuff we're doing. And really, we're building out walled gardens next. We want to be able to grow our own food, source everything locally. So I want this to be a showcase site for everything that's good in business.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so just talk through there the main phases or the main parts of the project. The commercial buildings we saw earlier, sort of your 2 courtyards. So I'll let you sort of talk through the key elements, and I'll move the arrow as you're talking through them.
Yeah, so the 9-hole, there's a big rise in the 9-hole pay-to-play opportunity because people want accessibility. So that's done, and that's open, by the way, and it's good to go. You've seen the buildings. The buildings are going to be a mix. There's conference center in the center of that. There's a studio, recording studio, boardroom already in play. They'll be up and running in the next 6 weeks. There's actually Medi-Spa going in. That was part of the opportunity why we did a private raise, because Harry Singer, who's doing the Medi-Spa, wanted to have first crack at the raise, right? Which is why we did the private raise with Harry and his guys. So we're building out like a high performance suite next year with the cap raise for next year. So we're going to have quite an iconic double helix courtyard with a lot going on there. Now, but meanwhile, the main play in the leisure piece there is we're already got the designs in for putting in obstacle courses. We've got a private beach going in. We're putting in lots of play, back to nature play, and getting for adults as well as kids, right? As a dad, I want to be in there with my kids doing stuff. And I want the place to be able to get amongst that. If you've got teenage boys or teenage girls, we're providing the opportunity. We're working with some of the best in the world of providing a high-end experience to get the whole family back together again. So that's stupidly exciting for me as a parent, right? As well as my team. It's funny, when we're building this stuff, my team's just geeking out. They're like, everyone's like, I want first go at that, right? So all the team want themselves, my own team want to be re-engaged in this. They want to be first in, right? But the major play, actually, all of that is, although that builds up quite nicely to a good business in its own right, it's the leisure tourism, it's the tourism piece and the luxury lodges where the real money maker is. That was somewhat accidental as well, because we've evolved that with the Welsh government up to really high-end units. It started as glamping, and now it's at a much more elegant end. And that's because there's a space in the market. Our work with the Welsh Government and the local council, they've told us they want innovation. They're desperate for high-end units. There's a massive gap in the market for this. That's been asked for. And because of the permissions we've got, because it's a golf course and it's got leisure permissions already, we were able to pull off planning permission, which you wouldn't be able to pull off normally in any other rural facility.
Okay. So you've talked about the 9-hole golf course. I don't think we need to maybe delve too much into that anymore, or for now. The 500-member sort of existing course, I think, is significant because there's a potential revenue straight away for the 9-hole pay and play. And you've mentioned the cafe. This for sure, as you've just mentioned, I think is a key part. So just to emphasize, the 9-hole golf course, the cafe is open right now, Deri. It's bringing in some revenue. This is a business that's operating. It's got staff, it's got overheads, but it's also generating money already. And then the next couple of slides are about the next phase, which is what you're raising some investment for. Is that correct?
This investment's for several things. You can obviously, this kind of investment we'll talk about, we've got multiple raises, we've got debt raises and equity raises. This is a very specific raise. This is around enabling the next level of planning, enabling the infrastructure for these units, and also driving a big part of the renovation on the building. So it's all going, this particular cash is all going into asset building value, because that's what's key at this point, because obviously you can start to see as we start to scale, then debt becomes a lot more available to us at a much bigger level. And you see that these aren't the units themselves. We've got the IP in the background. Anyone who wishes to invest we're putting on a showcase, so that people are already coming out to site. We've already got the first, I can't remember, 17 or whatever there. As soon as lockdown releases, then we're going to be out to the site so you get full tour and you can see it. And then also we're going to showcase the unit design, which is incredibly innovative. It's modeled off, you see what's the vibe we're going into here, but it's our own IP. We've literally created our own innovation. It's all steel and glass, and it is quite magnificent, if I say so myself, but the architects have done an incredible job. Yeah,
and I think obviously from a property perspective, I think this is where there is tangible increase in value to the asset. If you put 15 of these, obviously they're not cheap. First of all, they're not cheap to construct and get them onto site, but when they're there, A, it obviously adds value to the asset, but B, it gives you another very, very lucrative income stream by hiring these out. So again, it's just a tremendous addition to the asset.
100%. And you start to see in the early days, what we're doing is we're controlling the value add. And most people look, we're on a crowd platform which understands property. We've got multiple property gains. We've got buildings that were basically thrown in for free, which we can refurb and bring real value into very quickly. We've got planning gains, obvious planning gains with the units which you're talking about. We've also got planning gains on the back end of the buildings. We've got planning gains going into a driving range. You can see it for the leisure expansion. We've got planning gains coming in on 4 domes for indoor play. We've got multiple more. We've got another second food and bev outlet. So planning gains are really key to this as well. And then you've got the builds themselves, right? And you build a house, you make money on, you got the land, you got the planning, and now you build. So you've got all of this layering up. Meanwhile, we're running a business. And the beauty of this, for me, as a business guy I love business and I love property in equal measure, this just brings everything I love all together in a nice, beautifully elegant layer, where you just stack the value one on top of the other. Yeah, and because you're going for this high-end, experience, you do have ordinary, spa facilities as you'd normally have in these resorts, but we've also got this facial aesthetic spa with Dr. Harry Singh, who you mentioned earlier, and it's he and his investor group of dentists have been the sort of exclusive, had this exclusively, and he's also going to be there as part of the business providing this service. So again, additional high-end service from this asset. Yeah, and also for I know there may be a few on here tonight, and if not, they'll be watching the recording afterwards, because a few dentists missed out last week. Harry's been having texts all week going, I've heard that you've got this deal going on. So although the emails were sent out and they got exclusivity, and I know a number of you didn't see it, so sorry about that. Harry really did send the emails out. If it went to spam or whatever, we can't do anything about that. So for those people on the call that do know Harry or whatever, don't worry, the exclusivity's up. There's still a little bit of time in, so it's no panic yet. But I think Harry's sorting out his email delivery for next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so just sort of briefly mention then your sort of the team behind the advisory board and things like that, and then we'll get into the financials.
Yeah, absolutely. I practice what I preach, right, in business. It's just when you're going to do something of this scale, I need someone behind me that's done this scale before, so I can learn all the lessons. And especially what we're doing is there's some uniqueness to it, but there's also some similarity. So I'm very proud to have on the advisory board, well, Sean Gillies for a start. Now he's director of Savills UK in the commercial element. So this guy knows property like nobody. I love Sean. He's a dear friend as well now. He's got an equity stake in the company, full transparency on that. And he's been very, very actively involved. So again, how do we value this asset? It's a complex asset to value, right? How do you value an asset with so many multiple plays? So Sean's been integral in this right from the beginning. And is a fully locked in advisory board member and with equity. On the other hand, you've got Clive Mitchell here, who happens to be Ian's brother, a lucky family there. Clive he's currently CEO of Rails Bank, and doing incredibly well in the city. Just look him up. But he was ex-CIO of Born Leisure, and Born Leisure scaled a very similar model, and they scaled it up to $1 billion very fast. Now, that's why we're here talking. He's been great from day one, because immediately he got us on, look at infrastructure, guys, look at do this, do that, because these are the mistakes people make. So we've had incredible insight early on this. We've got the best planning consultancy in Wales from Asbury. They have been incredible with us, with the Welsh government, in the local government as well. So we've got a real solid team around us from an advisory level, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah, no, absolutely top drawer. And I think that's when we as a platform are looking at projects that get brought to us. And as you can imagine, we get lots of projects, some very, very good, and some that just aren't there yet in terms of the whole package. But it was really refreshing when you sent across your initial information, and we started to go, okay, well, who's behind this? And we look at your core team and going, okay, they're obviously very reputable and solid, professionals. And then we look at your advisory board, and it's like, yeah, okay. And then you move on to your planning consultants. And I mean, it's just a really top end team you've put together. And that I just think that really helps investors when they're analyzing whether this is for them or not. I think when they see the caliber of people you've brought, Deri, it's certainly a big tick in the box.
Thanks, David. And look, I preach this. I've been preaching this for 15 years in business. The number one strategy is talent. So ultimately, people, you're not investing in me. You're investing in the concept, the structure, and the talent that's going to execute upon this, of which I'm one piece. This is the key, is for me in any business, I've got to make sure we've got the best talent around us to execute it. And because this is such a big vision, we needed big talent, right? So
yeah, no, absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, so that's we're the time's good. So let's delve into the financials a bit, and then we should have a little bit of time for Q&A. So again, if I can just remind those attendees, if you have any questions for Deri on the project, on the financials, then please, you can put your question into the Q&A box. Don't put it into the chat. Put it in the Q&A, and we'll try and deal with it if we can as we go along or afterwards. So please do that and avail of that. Now that we have Deri live here, he's obviously an exceptionally busy man, and I'm sure you'll not mind me saying, but he did a webinar for us this morning on our weekly broadcast about the property market in Wales. He literally went from there and literally walked into the next room and has spent literally the rest of the day coaching and interacting with a group of sort of 15, 16 CEOs of multi-million-pound companies. And then he's just got back to his hotel. He's back onto this webinar tonight. So avail of the opportunity to ask him questions. This is what the webinar is for. So please feel free. So on the financials then, I'll just read through this first bit, Deri, because it's important we get this kind of nice and clear at the start, and then we can sort of look at different aspects of this. So crowd investors receive a projected 25% return on investment, ROI, and that's by way of a priority share. Now, a priority share means that the crowd investors will receive their profit share before the fundraiser receives theirs. 25% on the 500,000 investment is 125,000. And if you take that figure, it's 35.99% of the projected profits of the business in year one. So Deri and his team have forecasted estimated profits at 347,000, you can see. So the 125,000 as a percentage of projected profits is 35.99%, and that equates to a 25% ROI. So just kind of make that really clear. This is not a loan. This is not debt. Investors are purchasing a share of Deri's company. I think what was really impressive for me was that in a lot of cases in crowdfunding, the crowd investors don't get a vote. They get a different class of share. However, Deri wanted the investors in this project to actually be the same as every other shareholder. So there's effectively votes are there, and in that sense, it is fully equal. So do you want to make any comments just on that, Deri, regarding the shareholding? And I think it represents 10% of the company is what we are offering to the crowd investors, which is a pretty sizable chunk.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm transparent. One of our biggest values is transparency. So for me, if you're holding a voting right back, I want to know why. So this is why voting is important. And what you've got is a priority share. So these shares actually have a priority over the normal shares with the voting right. So that's we wanted to make a very clear statement of our intent here. The other thing too important, because this is a complex deal, this is why we need to go through full regulation to be fully compliant, because you need to be a sophisticated investor to invest in this deal, because you need to understand it, right? And I'm quite proud of what we've put together, and thank you to David and his team to go. But this is not an easy deal, right? And I'm not going to pretend it is, because it's got layers, which is what I've been talking about. Now, what you're looking at here is the profits. So we're basically saying you can have all the profits. We'll give you your money back and all the profits, because it's the assets, it's the balance sheet play which is really working here. And it's all the gains in the assets is where the big plays are really going on. And that's where a lot, that's essentially what people are buying into. And although we will buy you out, we've got the rights to buy you back on this at the levels that you want. But we also lock that in for 1 year. I think that's an important thing to note in a second. We'll be buying you back out with the assets, because we're going to be able to refinance and get debt against this and everything else. So, you're not going to be paid back by the profits, or you might be actually, the way things are going at the moment. But we've got other mechanisms to pay you back, and we've also got multiple exit routes, which is really important for the investors to understand. Yeah. The other thing I made a promise on is, because we may actually be able to buy you out earlier than 1 year, there's a whole 2-year play. So if we take 2 years, you're going to get the full return as promised over the 2-year period. If we want to buy you out earlier than 1 year, because we're talking to some big bond players and stuff at the moment, and it might be 6 months, 7 months, 9 months time, we go, actually, we need to take you back out now. We will promise you the full 25% on the whole year, because I think that's respectful. And we put that in, it's in the shareholder agreement, so it's all tight there. So you may actually, we may actually take you out early, but you'll still get that return. And I think I've worked very closely with David and the team and the compliance guys, and we feel like this is a real win-win scenario for all concerned. And I feel like we've done it right. Yeah,
indeed. And if I just emphasize the minimum raise that Deri and his team asked for initially was 100,000. The maximum target that they need, there comes a point they just don't need more cash, but the maximum that they could deploy within this kind of phase of the project was 500,000. So once they passed 100, sort of Deri was happy. Anything above 100 is just kind of like icing on the cake, and just gives them more sort of leverage to go and do things quicker with the cash that he raises. So we're at 352,000. So you can see we're well on our way to reach that 500. But the project is successful. As I stress, we've already drawn down some funds and sent it to Deri and the team. So this is a successful raise. We're not relying on anyone on the webinar tonight that unless you invest, the project doesn't go ahead. That isn't the case. The projects are already off the starting blocks. Tonight is about allowing some other people to come in if they so wish. So the minimum investment for this project is 10,000. That is the entry level for this. And again, we've talked through this 25% per annum, potentially a 2-year play. But as Deri's articulated, it may be under a year, but for sure the investors get their 25% per annum on that first 12 months, even if they're exited slightly early. You can see on the right-hand side here, this is kind of the the investment year, and then obviously next year is really the key growth year with the planning applications obviously being approved, increases the value, the build of the units, etc. So really next year is this growth of asset, and then the year after is where it's in the economies of scale. So just to emphasize one thing, obviously we've talked about potential return on projects and profits and the win-win nature of the way it's been structured. But just for balance and from a compliant point of view, just draw your attention to the bottom there. Capital is at risk in these type of investments. Returns are not guaranteed. You're effectively buying shares in a business, and of course shares can go up or down. And we do encourage all potential investors read the full project information and make sure you understand all the risks versus the reward before you decide to invest. So it's definitely important to mention that. So a lot of what Deri's talked about tonight, in fact, probably everything he's talked about tonight, is actually in what we call a project offer document. So there's a very comprehensive document put together by Deri and the team that really goes into a lot more information than we can do tonight. And you're able to register on our platform, download that, and access the P&L and the balance sheet and your projection financially. A lot more information on the various aspects of the business. So that is really your next port of call if this is something that you're interested in. Is there anything, Deri, you want to just wrap up on that before I then move on to the sort of the Leo crowdfunding side?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's there. You'll talk about questions in a minute. I know what happened the last time. A number of people were trying to reach out to us. Some of Harry's crew were reaching out to Harry and both myself through LinkedIn asking us questions. I'm like, I don't want to be rude, but I'm not allowed to answer your questions, right? And I know we're going to cover that in a minute, David. I will absolutely answer all your questions, but we must do it in a compliant fashion to make sure everyone's got availability to it. So I know a number of you now, once it's all done and we're closed off, feel free to link in with me and I'll happily talk to you, right? In a normal, I'm not a complete arse, but I cannot, under regulations, connect with you individually and answer individual questions, which David will cover in a minute.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Okay, so let me just to wrap up here in a few minutes, and then we will have time for any questions if any more come in. But again, just to understand the mechanics, so Deri has taken you through the opportunity in terms of the project and the investment, but in terms of actually how you can access this and potentially invest in this project, I just need to run you through a little bit about our crowdfunding platform. So again, along our bottom of our website and our platform, again, you're going to be getting this sort of risk warning. Again, we're appointed representative, and you can see there that this investment is not offered to the public. Only people registered on our platform can actually invest in this project. So that's important to note. Now, as I said, when you go on our platform on the home page, you will then see the project and what we call a thumbnail. And you can see there's been 13 other people who have invested. Minimum entry level is 10,000. So you can easily see a number of investors have invested significantly more than 10,000. But collectively, that's at 352,000 currently. And there's going to be a maximum at 500. Now, the plan, Deri's plan is probably the end of this week, maybe Saturday, might stretch out to maybe Monday. But that will be sort of the end of the campaign. As I've already said, Deri has kind of the money that he needs, so there's no real merit in just leaving the project open-ended. So this will probably end, if not Saturday, probably Monday. So for those who are interested, you need to have a look at it, make your decision, and if you're investing, make your investment. Really by the weekend. So let me run through very quickly the steps to then actually make, first of all, access the information and then make a decision to invest. So first step is just leave some basic details, name and an email address. You'll be asked to confirm your email. So go back into your emails, obviously confirm that. And then you'll be able to see that you have an account. And when you click on that, you'll see these portfolio profile messages, log off. So when you see that, you'll know that you're actually logged in properly on the site. So what's the next steps from there? First thing is you have to be what we call investor ready. This is all part of regulation and compliance. We need to know what type of investors are on the platform. So you'll have to designate if you're a restricted investor or a retail investor, a high net worth investor, or a sophisticated investor. So you'll be able to indicate where you fit in those three categories. And then you go through what's called an investor readiness test. And this is just a series of multiple choice questions. And that will just confirm that you understand, again, the nature of this investment. So you're sort of confirming by this appropriateness test that you understand the nature of investment, you understand the capital as risk, you understand that you're buying shares in a business, that you can't necessarily just wake up tomorrow morning and ask Deri for your money back because you bought a share in a business. So once that's confirmed, you then do your KYC, give us some ID. You might be asked for a proof of address as part of anti-money laundering. But they're effectively the tick boxes that makes a person investor ready, which means they then can invest if they so wish. Now, once you're registered, then when you click on the project thumbnail, you'll now be able to actually download the offer document. And you'll see this document to the side here of the pitch pages. You then can download that and look at all the information. If you then decide, yep, I want to invest, I want to be part of this journey, then you simply click on wanting to invest. You then insert your 10,000 or multiples of 10,000 that you so wish. It will tell you how many shares you're buying for that investment. So that's clearly there. You then continue to payment. And then you have two choices of payment. You can transfer money to an e-wallet as one way. Most people just do a bank transfer. So when you click on request unique reference number, that will generate a number for you that you then simply use with your bank for the transaction. Now, the funds do not transfer directly to Deri or his SPV. The funds need to move onto the platform, but they're effectively a pledge at this stage because there's then a shareholder agreement that you get to look at. And then you have to verify and be happy with the shareholder agreement. And when you accept the shareholder agreement is when you're committing to have the funds transferred. So just to make that really clear, the shareholder agreement is really what you want to be looking at in line with the offer document. And there's been a lot of to and fro in Deri in the shareholder agreement to make sure that it's accurate for the investors. I know you're really keen to make sure that it was easily understood and reflected the offer document.
Yeah, and I think we've done it, and thanks to John Corey on that as well, so and your team. And I think we've got it right there. And obviously, actually, all of the current money that's been invested, majority, 90% of those have signed off the shareholder agreement. So it's obviously working well, and I think everyone appreciates the transparency in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I think it's really important to note that the money flows through a third-party payment provider. It doesn't come, we don't have control of it as a platform. Deri certainly doesn't have control of it until such times as the third-party payment provider is satisfied that all the checks have been done, that you've signed off the shareholder agreement, and only then do funds actually transfer to Deri and his team. So that's important to note. Now we have a full, obviously, customer service team. So if anyone gets stuck at something or a document's rejected or something like that, then just get in touch with us via support email, and we can get one of the members of the team to jump on and sort out with you. So let me just conclude with this. We're obviously hosting this project. We as a platform are not part of the project. We don't give financial advice. We're not recommending this. This is a good investment and this is something that you should do. I don't know your personal circumstances. What we're doing as a platform is we're hosting this, and we have had the material approved for financial promotions. So we have certainly done a level of due diligence on Deri and his team, on the special purpose vehicle, the business structure. We've looked at the shares invested by previous investment rounds. We've looked at all of that, and the accounts, and literally we've verified that the accounts add up. We've verified the content. It's not for us to decide the validity or otherwise of them in terms of whether you think it's a good investment or not, but we've certainly done a level of due diligence. And of course, we've onboarded the legal entity, looked at the shareholders, their ID, looked at the share agreements and all of that. So we have, if you like, verified the information in the offer document. Has been verified to the best of our ability, but you need to read it for yourself and make a decision for yourself. So really that brings us to the end of the webinar tonight. Thanks very much for those who have joined us. If anyone does have a question, feel free to ask it now before we wrap up. I think you've done such a great job, Deri, in going through the information there that so far there hasn't been too many questions. So if anyone does, I'll just give last sort of 10, 15 seconds for any questions that are wanted to be asked. I'll just point out in the meantime, again, when you go on to our homepage, this is what you'll see when you click on the thumbnail, and you can see the information from there. You can scroll down and see the overview, the financials, the team. There's also a forum. I encourage you to have a look at the forum and read some of the questions that have been asked by other investors, and then you can see some of the answers that Deri and his team or us as a platform have given to those questions. So the forum's a really good place, just as part of your DD on the project. So I think that is effectively us, Deri, for tonight. Thank you very, very much for your time. Have you any just last minute comments or anything you want to just say before we wrap up?
No, for those who obviously people who will lean into this, you'll know if it's the right investment for you. What we've promised the other guys, and it's the same for all investors coming into this round, as soon as the lockdown's out, and those who've invested, we're going to be hosting a proper tour on the site so you guys can come and see it, experience it, and be part of it. We're not just looking for investors here as part of it, we're also looking for advocates, right? So people who can just lean into this project and go, yeah, I really want to be part of that. And that's what we've had. This is why we've had such a great buzz so far. So I look forward to any of those and there's people who are on now and those who are watching the recording back as well. I look forward to meeting you myself personally in Raglan and giving you the proper tour. But you're gonna have to bring your walking boots because it's quite a big site.
Yeah, very much. And yeah, so if anyone wants the recording, you can get in touch with us. So we'll put the different emails there. Me personally, David at LEOcrowdfunding.com, or our support team. So take a screenshot of that, take a mobile snip if you want, so you have those details, and just reach out to us, and we'll happily answer any question you have. So I think that's us for tonight, Deri. Again, thank everyone's taking the time to come on. I know England's just gone back into lockdown. Wales is just about coming out of lockdown. Northern Ireland is in the middle of lockdown. So I know people are busy with families and all the rest of it. So we certainly appreciate Deri taking the time, but also the attendees have taken the time, and hopefully you've enjoyed that. And you can make a decision, and hopefully it's an investment that suits you. And that is something that you can decide. And we look forward to having you on board the journey if you decide to be part of it. So with that, I'll let you say goodbye, Deri, for your last cheerio.
Take care. See you soon.
All right. Bye, everyone. Talk to you all soon. Have a safe night.